Thanks, Srini. Thanks. And thanks for everybody who's joined. The pleasure is all mine to take you through this 45 minutes or half an hour of stress. The idea was pandemic times, so unusual times. And when Srini spoke to me, um he told me that, why don't you do something? I have a couple of friends to do that. So I said, okay, why not? So this is where I want to start. So let us, I believe in experiential wisdom. So let's experience stress. So what I want you to do is wherever you are, just sit and sit straight, sit erect, wherever you are, however you want to do, legs straight on the ground and hands freely. And I want you to just observe the first time is take a double breath inside and with your mouth twice outside. So once more, I will demonstrate and then you all can do it that with me. So let's do that 3 times. And just feel the sensation, just feel the feeling that is going around. If you have done it with me, even if you have taken a slight breath, there will be a change of energy within your body. And that is exactly what stress is. Stress is neither good nor bad. It is there to protect you. And that's what I want to stress in this entire seminar, that if you understand stress and you work with stress, you can control the stress. That's the idea. Now let's so there was this there was a bar which was there, and which was serving alcohol, obviously. And then there were three gentlemen who walked in. These three gentlemen were poured with a glass of whiskey, and the bartender asked as to, you know, what do you think about this glass of whiskey? So the first guy said, the glass is half full. And so the bartender nodded, cheered him. The second guy said, the glass is half full. The bar leader again cheered and he said, all the best, cheers. The third, a philosopher, took the glass, drank the whiskey, and cherished in his mouth, gargled it, and then after some time put the glass down and said, it's a it's a very good quality whiskey. And that is how life is. Life is about quality. It is not about good, bad, right, wrong. These are all the various characters and various shades of life that come in. And this is exactly what pandemic taught to me. And as COVID approached in March of around mid March in India, we shut down everything. And I was doing a project for a small company because I kind of left the MNC jobs, and I was quite unsure of what next to be done. But I was pretty sure I wanted to get into the helping industry because over the last 1 decade, as Ashrini put it, I worked for some MNCs traveling around the Asia Pacific, around the world, etc., which gave me a lot of good lifestyle. I wouldn't say diseases, but disorders like sugar, blood pressure, weight, and things like that. And that is when I started on pills and doctors. And I said, and I being the engineer that I was, and for me, the root cause is kind of a big thing for me, because whenever I do something, I go to the root, understand, and then kind of to resolve the problem. So I said, these things cannot happen because something on top level is happening. So then I went through books, researched, and then I found that the core of everything is to do with the way we live our life, and the way we live our life is with a sickness called hurriness. And hurriness is the new sickness. Sickness so much that we do not want to sit even for a couple of minutes without doing anything. And this was proved by a study. There was a study which kind of spread across a couple of people who were given electrical shocks, and then asked, what is their reaction to that shock. And that shock told them that they would part with half their life's earning, and that is how much of that shock hurt them. The similar people were put in a room and were asked to sit in that room for 15 minutes without doing anything. And if they wanted to get out, they had to press a button which would give them a similar shock. And before the 15 minutes could get over, there were so many people pressing the button so many times that they were ready to take that shock but were not ready to sit without doing anything. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is stress for you. Stress is a biological response to what is known as fight, flight, or fear mode. Stress uh, stress is something which is inbuilt in us for us to protect our lives. Okay. So the way it functions is, you have the brain, and there are many parts to the brain, but when we are speaking of stress, it is the amygdala, or the portion which is in the middle. So there is many things between in the middle, but let's, for simplicity's sake, there is the amygdala. This guy here is also your monkey brain, or the brain which gets to know what is happening in the environment. So you have these five senses. So the way the mind works is in five ways. Okay, you have cognition happening first. So cognition happens when you see something, you hear something, you smell something, you taste something, you get touched by something. It cognizes, and the cognition process then is also the conscious process. Okay, so all your five senses have consciousness within them. So you may see something, but to recognize what you are seeing is done by the conscious part, or cognition. And then once you cognize, you recognize something as, what it is. Maybe it is a tree, it is a car, it is, the touch is hot, the touch is cold. And these are the things that happen when you look at recognition. And then from recognition, every recognition then has something called as a sensation, or in our normal terms it is called feeling. And then that sensation is attached to so the moment sensation happens, the memory recognizes, saying now, this is the sensation that I'm getting, whether you're seeing something, hearing something, or so you hear something, right? So when you hear something, you suddenly start feeling, oh, I like it, oh, I don't like it. So you have a reaction, and then based on that reaction you act. And this is the whole thing of, the whole way that life exists on this planet. You keep recognizing, you keep liking, you keep disliking, you keep liking, you disliking, or you just ignore this stuff. And this is the at the very basic root level of how the cognition, the recognition, the action, reaction, etc. works. And stress is part of that. Now, when we were born into life, there are two arrows which follow us, and whether it is we human beings or the enlightened ones, they have all gone through these two arrows, which is pain and which is suffering. So when I say pain, pain is the pain of growth, the pain of decay, the pain of sickness, the pain of getting old, the pain of problems. So these are all pains which come along with birth. There is no way we can get away from this pain. But then there is the second arrow, which is the suffering, which is to do with where we take the arrow and pierce it on our foot itself. This is the stress that we speak of, right? We our busyness, our sense to kind of look at things and start deciphering it is good, is it bad, without understanding what our body wants. See, the mind and the matter is all similar. I mean, one cannot exist without the other. So is also stress. And how does stress function? So you have the amygdala, which is the middle portion. So the moment there is a sensation or recognition of threat, the amygdala then kind of signals to something called as the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is kind of like your operations manager. The operation manager then gets into the action. It gets into the body, and in the body there is a real realization of some hormones or enzymes. What are hormones? Hormones are the way different organs communicate with each other. Okay, so you would have heard insulin, glucose, things like that, which are hormones, which communicate between each organs. There is a communication pathway, and this is how the typical function of stress happens. And when the stress happens, there is a hormone called cortisol which gets released in your body, and the main function of that is to make your heart beat faster. Once the heart beats faster, then it opens up the lungs to take in more oxygen. The other important function it does is it shuts down some of your preliminary functions like the autoimmune system, which has to do with your regulation of different organs, and taking care of diseases and other things. It kinds of brings it to a lower level. And then it also rushes blood to your foot and your hands, so that you are in that flight fear mode. And this is stress, and this is meant for a brief period of time, right? A brief period of time when you notice that there is something dangerous that is coming to you. So you do not have the time to decide as to should I fight it, should I flee, or or the freeze mode is the more thing where example of a freeze mode is a car which is coming at you at 100 kilometers hurtling towards you, and suddenly you have to kind of decide if I move to the road or no, and then you completely go blank. Or for example, if you see blood which is oozing out and suddenly you go blank, this is because you do not know and your body does not know what to do with you. So the best method is to freeze so that it can take the hit and kind of calm you down or whatever it is. So this is the freeze mode. Now when this happens, this is your body protection mode, and this is to protect what is uh, best interest of your life. Now what we have done is, this is ancestral. This is comes from millions of years of existence that is there. Now when we look at what is happening now is that every other thing is you are in flight fear mode. For example, there is you are doing something and suddenly your WhatsApp rings, or there is a message that comes. You leave this, you look at the WhatsApp, and suddenly the WhatsApp opens, you read something, you get into stress, you move out, you do something, and internally you are releasing all these hormones which act in the fight flight mode, and it is meant only to come out in a period of time, maybe 3 or 4 times in a day, because that's what our ancestors were used to. They did not face danger all the time. But what the brain does not understand is the context. And who understands the context? The context is understood by something called as the prefrontal cortex. This thing here is where your prefrontal cortex does. And and the beauty about this is that, you know, every scripture, every religion says about wise mind and how do you calm yourself and other things. So as part of that, the physical part which does that is the prefrontal cortex, and that can be strengthened, and that has to be strengthened to kind of mitigate stress. As I said, right, pain is not possible to be avoided. Even if you pick up, if you read any of the scriptures, any of the religion, the gods have come to earth. They have faced calamities. They have faced unprecedented pain. I mean, uh, Lord Jesus Christ, he was crucified, yet so much of compassion in that man, or that enlightened one, that he has to be called the Son of God, because nobody in in our times can take that pain and yet not scream on pain or tell anybody anything, and that is compassion. And you can only develop compassion and empathy through your prefrontal cortex. So what I'm trying to tell you all is, you know, these the entire structure is interconnected. There is connectedness between your body, your mind. So whatever you think, okay, whatever your thought processes, within it lies some memory, some aspiration, some likes, some dislikes. And then there is the choice that you have. The choice is how do you respond or how do you react. Now if you respond, there is 100% chance that it is it is the way you want it to happen, correct? So if a car is hurling at you at 100 kilometers per hour, you can't do much about it, right? But you can obviously stand where you stand, it will hit you. But then that is the maximum that you can do. And by accepting that, you have saved yourself another suffering from happening. And this is exactly what is happening in COVID, right? The COVID is there, you are sitting at home and you want to get out, but that is not possible. But what is possible? Is it possible to communicate with people? Now when I say communicate with people, Zoom, you might think that, you know, from a video recording perspective, I cannot you know, feel what you are thinking, or since I can't see you because there are so many numbers. But if you're doing a 3 or 4 number of seminars, you can actually what feel what the people are saying to you, what the people are feeling, because experiments have proved. So how has the experiments proved? So there is this experiment which is called the 100 monkey experiment. You can google it. So what happened was, in a remote island which was covered by sea, there are these Siamese monkeys which do not know how to swim. They hate water, but they are surrounded by water in an island. And the island, by definition, had a lot of sweet potatoes. So the monkeys used to eat those sweet potatoes without cleaning or anything, and they used to not like it. So some of the monkeys found out that, you know, these sweet potatoes could be washed, and after washing they tasted yummy. Okay, and they tasted yummy, and some of the monkeys got it, they discovered it, and then the whole group of monkeys kind of loved doing that. Then what was the observation was, about 1,000 2,000 miles from this island was another set of monkeys who started doing the same thing. There was no connection in whatsoever way that that some monkeys from this island would have traveled to the other island. Okay, so what does that prove? That proves that we can speak through our neurons. And what are neurons? So neurons are simple nerve endings, or you can say simple cells in your brains that are your pathway to whatever you are, you know, in terms of thinking, in terms of cognition, in terms of intelligence, in terms of feeling, in terms of emotions, in terms of going through the goals, feelings, etc. So neurons connect with each other,
and that's how they form what is called as neural pathways. And through neural pathways is how your entire functionality begins. But these neural pathways are also monitored to your body. So if you have, so there are billions of neurons which are there in your brains, which kind of die every second, regenerate every second. So until about 20-30 years back, there was this definition that the neurons once dead would never regenerate, but that has gone off. So what today we have is something called as neuroplasticity. And what neuroplasticity tells us is that use it or lose it. What does that mean? If today, if I want to become, so if I want to learn, for example, maybe some musical instrument, and I know that I do not know anything about music, but if I were to practice in a certain way, I would learn that instrument in a number of days and I would become better at it. There is no way that I cannot learn it. Okay. Yes, I may not become Ravi Shankar or I may not become the greatest musician on earth. That is true. But if I decide to learn, I could learn. Okay. So what has neuroplasticity taught us is that every moment, the thoughts that you percolate in your mind, you keep ruminating, you keep low, you keep thinking, that creates neural pathways. And that neural pathways kind of has you go on thinking, there is something called as chunking which happens. Chunking is a strong bond, like a big rope which speaks to couple of neurons, and these neurons keep firing all the time. So this is your predominant neuron. So if you look at yourself, so like if you are kind of anxious and you keep smoking, now smoking is a reward mechanism, right? For the anxiousness. So if you were to scan your brain at that time, your neural pathway of that feeling must lit up. Okay, so that's the way it is. So 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 what I'm trying to explain here is that there is a physiological function, there is a psychological function, and what I call has a spiritual strength. I wouldn't call it anything other than spiritual strength, because that is the choice that you have. Correct. So there was this famous psychologist who was called Viktor Franklin. And Viktor Franklin was a victim of the Nazi era. He lost his family, he lost his wife, his parents, and spent I think good 6-7 years in the Nazi concentration camp. And even in that concentration camp, he discovered that even in the midst of the most painful, most pressureful things in life, you can still live happy. When I say happy, is you can detach yourself from the problem that is surrounding you. Your environment doesn't dictate you, you dictate environment. So it is like the story of the lion, that there was once upon a time a lion who in his young, when he was a cub, there was a huge hurricane and he lost his father and mother in the hurricane. And suddenly this cub finds itself in between the sheeps, and it is very happy with the sheep. It grows up into a proper lion, but it is still a sheep. I mean, it is lived with sheep. It can't roar, it speaks ba ba ba, and it is very happy. And then one day a set of lions come and attack this entire breed of sheep and kills everybody. And then when they go to attack, they see a lion in between, in the midst of them, and they are confused as to what this fellow is doing. So what they do is they catch hold of the lion and ask him, "What are you?" He's again frightened. "Bull, don't kill me! Don't eat me!" He says, "Ba ba," and then one of the lion picks him up, gives him one rap, takes him to the water front, and shows him his face in the water. And suddenly he realizes also he looks like them. Oh my God! He's still very afraid. And then uh, one of the lions takes a part of the liver and shoves it into his mouth, and suddenly the lion roars. Okay, and that's what humans are. You have the choice. The choice is yours. Yes, I mean it will not come to you naturally. Nothing comes naturally, correct? So when I started my career, I was uh, BCom graduate who went on to become an engineer in not only one of the bigger companies in Middle East like Oman Computer Services. I was part of customer engineering department, and I used to run shoulder to shoulder people like Srini, Suhas, who were greats, and I consider it a great honor to kind of at least be counted among them. And as you said, I became one of the better ones because I thought very differently, because I came very deep from a very different background, and that's how life is. You have your choices. I left, and when I had diabetes, I had blood pressure, I had all this stuff. I said, no way, I am not going to remain with pills. And the moment I said, no way, I found these books, I found this set of doctors who spoke of alternative medicines, who spoke of holistic healing, and that's how I got into it. And I started learning. Yes, there is one thing: you take the priority in your hand, you do what it is required, but don't expect miracles to happen in 1 day, 2 day kind of, because we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and we underestimate what we can do in a decade. And this is very important. I repeat, you overestimate what you do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in a decade, because it takes time. For example, when you sow a seed in the soil, the soil has to have the right nutrients, the soil has to absorb water, the rainfall has to happen, and then the plant comes up. So your job is to sow the right way, wait for the right things to come up, and then the plant will come up. The plant will definitely come up, and this plant, when it will come up, even the universe can't say. And that's what is being said in the scriptures. And everybody keeps saying this thing, right? Fal ki chinta mat karo, um, karam karte jao. And that's exactly what is in your hand is to do. Karam karo. You do the action. You do not wait for things to happen, things to follow. If I had waited, if I had not set up my website, if I had not put it on LinkedIn, I just put it up. I am not, it is not that I wanted to do helping industry in business. And the way Srini is connected after 2 decades to me. Yes, in between we had some small talk because he's an empire. I love cricket, and we had connected sometime, but we never spoke. It was like after 1999 when he was my manager that I spoke, and then it is now that I'm speaking to him. I kind of 20 years later, he just told me that I saw what you did on LinkedIn and I saw the transformation, and hence I connected with you. I did. I, so the idea is you can take calamities and say, my God, how will God help you? God has given you everything that is him. You are a reflection of him. If you ask these three questions, right? Does God know what you are going through? It is yes. Is it something hard for him to solve? No, right? And is it, the third question you is it ask, does he have a purpose for you? Yes, he has a purpose for you, right? And if you do not believe in that purpose, there is no faith. And faith is a faculty. It is not something to be believed. It is not something to be you put a photo in front of you, light a few candles, light a few essence, and that's faith. That is not faith. Faith is going inside you, going and trying things. Because if you are the head of a family, and if your shoulders are down, it's like the captain of a team, right? If your shoulders are down, the rest of the team is not going to look at winning even before. So this is a story about Michael Clark and a Bangladeshi player. I forgot his name. Um, both started their career at the same age, and where Michael Clark is today, recognized, I don't even remember the other person's name, because Bangladesh, when they went into the field, they always thought about, how do we avoid defeat. An Australian team goes on the field, it thinks, how am I going to win? That attitude. It's the same thing with stress. There is stress is good for you. Stress is good. Stress is not bad. When too much of good happens, it is bad. That is yin and yang, right? When you look at the moon, when then the full moon day, there is a little bit of darkness in that full moon day, and there is a bit of light when there is no moon day, right? So that's nature. And what does nature teach you? The biggest thing that you have to understand is that change is permanent. When I say change is permanent, what is that law? That law is one: everything is born, and when everything is born, there is a period of growth. Okay, it grows, and once it grows, it remains there for some time. So that's continuity. Then decay happens, and once decay happens, death happens. And this is the law. This is the law. You understand it from a very I would say, from a cognitive perspective. This is understandable, but you have to experience this. Okay, and how do you experience? You have to go inside of you. And there are a lot of ways you can go through. One of the ways that I found out was through Vipassana. Vipassana is a meditation technique as taught by the great enlightened one, Buddha. And you go through a 10-day course, which is because you require that amount of time to kind of get established in the technique. The technique is very simple, but what happens is, it's like this, right? If you have a wound, and if you want to cure the wound, you have to pierce it and remove the pus out. Then only the wound will heal. That's universal, right? So when you sit and contemplate within yourself, okay, you start contemplating, you suddenly realize you are in a space where things are very turbulent. You will start noticing the mind that is wavering, the mind that is not under your control. You have these goals, ambitions, but then what happens to the rest of the stuff? What happens to your family life? What happens to your free time? And what happens if you do not want to do something in a day? What will go wrong? What is going to happen? What is going to happen? It is just simply you can't comprehend. Can you comprehend this? Every breath. So we typically take about 15 breaths a minute. That's about 2000 odd breaths in a day. Okay, and I can very few people are even aware that they breathe. Okay. uh, Now, what happens with every breath that you take? Each breath which goes inside you hits an area inside your body, which, if unfolded, okay, if unfolded, is half the size of an Olympic tennis court. Okay, every breath that you take covers the blood vessels. If stitched together, is about 60,000 miles or 2.5 times around the earth, which is inside your body, each one of us. Every breath that you take feeds about 38 trillion cells in your body, and it takes in nutrients and leaves out toxic waste, which goes out. This is the one breath which happens in your body. You can't comprehend what happens inside your body. That's why that's why the mind and the matter has to be appreciated, has to be worked on. Okay, exercise is good, but if you don't work on the food that you are eating, if you are not going to work on your thoughts, how it can be improved, how you can, how does how are you going to control your emotions? You cannot control emotions by just by just feeling or clutching on to the emotion and suppressing it, because it will burst one day. So 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 some of the things that the older generation or the older people have done for us is is kind of, you know contemplate inside, go inside. This could be in terms of prayer, you know. And one of the greatest prayers is to have gratitude for what you have. Okay, it is about wanting what you have rather than having what you it is like having what you want versus wanting going after what you want. So happiness is defined by you know having getting, sorry, it is about being happy with what you have. So the entire gratitude is one of the greatest prayers that you can say. You should be grateful to the life that you have, you know the smaller things that you have, whatever it is, for the family that you have. If you spend 10 minutes on that every day, it's like this, right? You do not have bath the whole day to cleanse yourself, right? You have a bath which is 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, weekends you may have a longer bathroom singing, etc. But the idea is that within the 10 minutes you clean yourself, you bathe yourself. Similarly, do a mind exercise. I'm not saying a brain exercise. You do a mind exercise. Sit quietly, observe your breath, observe your breath, be grateful, be happy, and take on the world. I mean, stress is there, it is there, stress is there, pain is there, you cannot. But what you can avoid is suffering. And what suffering brings is all these disorders, like diabetes, cholesterol, your hypertension, and things you do not want in life. But yes, there is a lot more to that also, but that in some other time I will cover nutrition also. We will get into that. But this, what I'm trying to say today is that it is the mind matter phenomena and the mind matter connection which will get you through this, because change is a universal law. What is change? It is birth, it is growth, it is continuity, it is decay, and it is death. So this you apply to anything on this mother earth, it will come up saying that the thing that is born will die. Okay, so that is inevitable. And the with the and the change comes with pain is there. It is not that it is doesn't, there is no pain, and you can live a joyful life all. But yes, you can choose to stay joyful. That's has the only per people who have got the prefrontal cortex is human beings. Okay, also understand this. No other person on this earth has prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is the ability to be compassionate, to be empathetic. But this is a muscle, this is an organ. This has to be exercised, this has to be bought up and exercised every day, every day, every day. Small steps, small steps, small steps. And that is how you start evolving deep empathy, deep compassion, and empathy towards yourself first. Because if you're not fulfilled inside, if you're not full inside, you can't pour out, my friend. An empty bucket is an empty bucket. Until the bucket is full, the water will not flow out. And you have to fulfill this. So this is what I want to do in the next 10 minutes, because it's become a too long a monologue. In the next 10 minutes, if we can switch on all the videos, I will take you through a 10-minute breathing exercise. You can call it meditation, you can call it breathing exercise, you can call it mindfulness, you can call it whatever it. You can practice this every day, and this will give you a sense of calmness at least for some time. And you can do it anytime during the day. There is no specific time or date or anything that you want to do. So Srini, if they can come online or stay where they are. I have no issues in that, but just follow me. So, like I said, just sit, relax, relax yourself, sit straight, keep your backs erect. Yeah.
I would suggest that if those who want to come switch on the video, let them do it because it will have an effect. You know, in the when you see the people and do it, then you get a better way of explaining the things. You know, so if people are willing to show themselves on the video,
Yeah,
they can.
I am very much game for it. I mean, the better.
But only the video, not the audio. The moment you switch on the audio, you will take over Rajesh's place. So please keep the audio muted at all times. Yeah, go ahead, Rajesh. I think you can.
Yeah. Okay. So just keep your back straight, uh, chin chin straight, and just relax. Keep your shoulders. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is when I say breathe in, we will do 3 breaths in. Okay. And then when I say stop, just hold your breath for 3 counts. I will say 3, and then when I say out, you breathe out 3 times. We will do this about 5 to 6 times, and then we will go into the next exercise. If it would be nice if you could close your eyes, but you can do it with your eyes open also. There is no issues with that. So breathe in, stop, out. Breathe in, stop, out. Breathe in, stop, out. Breathe in, stop, out. Now I just want you to just take your focus between your nostrils and your upper lip, and I don't want you to push out anything. I just want you to observe the breath as it comes in and as it goes out. You will notice that your focus is entirely shifted onto your nostrils and your upper lips. Just observe the area as the breath goes in, it touches your nostril. Okay, and as you breathe out, it hits the nostril. Now take your breath and 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 go deep inside and observe that whether your stomach is expanding out as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, the stomach contracts. This is diaphragmic breathing. So just breathe in, stomach expands, breathe out, stomach contracts, breathe in, breathe out. As you breathe in, your stomach expands. Now, when you breathe in, I want you to take your breath to your chest also, along with the expansion of your stomach. So as you breathe in, you can see the air fill from your stomach up to your chest. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Great. Now bring your focus back again to your nostrils and your upper lip. Now, as you breathe in and out, on the out, count 1. On the out, count 2. So you breathe in, breathe out, 1. Breathe in, breathe out, 2. Breathe in, breathe out, 3. Breathe in, breathe out, 4. Breathe in, breathe out, 5. Breathe in, breathe out, 6, breathe in, breathe out, 7, breathe in, breathe out, 8, breathe in, breathe out, 9. I don't want you to exert yourself. So now we will count with each in breath. So every time you breathe in, you will count 1, breathe in, 1, breathe in, out, in, 2, in, 3, in, 4, in, 5, in, 6, in, 7, in, 8, in, 9, in, 10. Just stay where you are, observe your breath at the nostril, above the lip, above the upper lip. Just observe, just observe. As you breathe in, as you breathe out, just notice your breath. Stay with your breath. Don't try to do anything with the breath, but just normally breathe and just observe the breath. Your mind might wander, and it will wander. That is good. Let it come back. Observe your breath. Observe your breath. Just feel the calmness that has surrounded you. Just try to scan the different parts of the body from the head to the shoulders, through the hand, through the chest, through the back, through the stomach, through the thighs, through the calves, through the toes. Scan up, reverse scan above, toes, calves, thighs, back, stomach, chest, head area. Come back to your breath. Focus. Be with your breath. Be with your breath. Scan your body. Do you feel any discomfort? Do you see anything? Just focus. Focus on your breath. Focus on your breath. Focus. Yeah, I want you to slowly come back. Come back. Open your eyes. Just relax.